guys, what's up? It's me, Sam's33 here, and welcome to episode 35. These are numbers of Mix Up. And I'm just gonna sit here and wipe my eyes while you sit there for 13 minutes. No, I'm going to talk about regionals, which was this past weekend in North America, other countries, and continents, I guess. Yeah, countries and continents are not the same thing. Other continents have them at different times, but here in the US and Canada we had them this weekend, and I definitely had a lot of fun. Of course, I went to the Philly one, which is decently close to my house. It's about 40 minutes. It's very, very cold there. I don't know, it was just like freezing. I was chattering, like getting to the car, or not going from the car to the convention center, and like it was frustrating because all these doors didn't allow us to go in. It was a pain in the butt, and they were filming some show outside. It was crazy. And yeah, I definitely had a lot of fun. It seemed like a lot of my friends had a lot of fun. And yeah, so let's get on to the tournament report right now, because I don't have anything better to say other than rambling.
So, regionals has just passed, and my choice of deck was of course Rayquaza Electric. I knew the deck best, and as most of you know, it's my pick for the best deck in the format. So here's the list I used for the event. I liked having the 4/4 electric line. You really need 3 out to get the most out of your deck, and if one was prized, the 4/4 line made that not really an issue, and you usually want to save your super rods for other things, so yeah, 4/4 electric seems like a good option to me. Rayquaza EX is the star of the deck, of course. Being able to one-shot any EX in the game is what makes him my favorite choice. The deck takes a pretty long time to set up, but you can take prizes so fast after setting up and catch up in late game due to Rayquaza EX. 2 of them seemed like the right number. It's not the best starter, and it's not useful in every matchup, but having the second one was great in matchups it was good against. It allowed you to swap between them when Dynamotoring to them. You know, where you Dynamotor and then retreat and Dragon Burst, Dynamotor, blah, blah, whatever. Rayquaza from Dragon Vault is the co-star of the deck. It can donk in the mirror match, which was the only match I was hugely worried about, and as I just said, the deck is very slow, and Rayquaza is a decent way to start doing damage early in the game. And Shred is also a very good attack. It also trades prizes very well with Rayquaza EX, which again is the only matchup I'm scared of. 2 Rayquaza is a bit of an awkward number. It's not great in too many matchups, and 2 doesn't make it too likely to start with him. But there is a decent opportunity of you starting with him nonetheless, and with a ton of Switch and Skyar in the deck, you can get it into the active spot a decent amount of times in the first turn. Also, having 2 of it in the deck makes it less likely of it being prized when you need to get a donk, or just some decent damage on turn 1. Raikou is also one of my favorite cards for this deck. It makes the deck less catcher-based, and it is huge in the mirror match. And Thunderfang is also not that awful against Darkrai, since they don't run Switch. 1 is mostly because I didn't have the space for more, and it's not the best starter, since you usually want to figure out if your opponent runs Terrakion before you drop it. Mewtwo may seem redundant, since you usually discard all your energy before attacking, so your opponent's Mewtwo's are mainly pretty weak, and Rayquaza EX can one-hit KO it anyways. But if your opponent just goes aggro Mewtwo from the start, overloading with energy and destroying all your Dynamos, with Mewtwo taking out some of your Dynamos to allow you to get the Dragon Burst early enough to take it out, it will just take too long. But if you're on Mewtwo yourself, all you need is just 1 electric with the lightning in the discard, a Mewtwo, and an energy to take it out. 1 is all you need. It's a bad starter without double colorless, and will only be used once per game, if even at all. Trina line, 4 catchers for 4 Switch is required in my opinion. Electrics are some of the easiest catcher targets on the format, and you also don't have double colorless to retreat them. Switch is also a very powerful combo with Dynamotor. It gives you the opportunity to attack with the same Raikou or Rayquaza EX same turn after using Volt Bolt or Dragon Burst respectively. 3 Ultra Ball and 3 Level Ball seems to work great. I can't really explain what works about it, it just does. Super Rod is great for getting back fire energy, as well as other fallen electrics since they are quite fragile. Even though I often only use 1 per game, Ultra Ball and Juniper usually dispose of 1, if not 2, each game, so I think having 2 is the right choice. The last 2 trainer spots almost went to Energy Switch, but I decided it would be too techy, which I felt would have been a bad choice for my deck, so they ended up being Tool Scrappers. Eviolites will not a problem for regular Rayquaza. Rayquaza EX needs an additional energy to KO an EX with an Eviolite, and it was a much safer play than Energy Switch. And I was thinking the safer play and the less obscure changes I made to my consistency-based list, the better I would perform. Supporter line is fairly standard, may seem a bit high compared to most lists, but it definitely kept me drawing consistently during the event, and I definitely thought any less would make me have a lot more dead hands, so I think it's a good number, if not, add more, honestly. One Sky Arrow is quite little for this deck, since the stadium can't be recovered if it gets Dragon Pulse before you can draw it, which happened often, and it's crucial to the deck strategy, but I felt that I could draw into it enough with just the one, and Eels is quite popular in my meta, so they'll be playing their own Sky Arrow bridges for me anyways. The energy line I set it on was 9 lightning energy and 4 fire energy. Felt like I usually wasn't drawing enough energy of either type when I played it. You need to draw a lot of lightnings early game to discard them, as well as to use Dragon Pulse, but 4 fire is barely enough to use both Rayquaza EX and Rayquazas with Shred each game. It's probably one of the deck's biggest flaws, but I didn't run into those problems too much during the event, so it may just be fine like this. That out of the way, on to the report. I met up with some of the people from PokeBeach.com's forums, which I am part of. You guys should check out their forum, it's a really great place, and just a regular site. I played a few practice games, and I lost every single one of them. It wasn't the best way to start the day. Hopefully I was just getting out on my bad games, and now I can perform better, or I can just be talking superstition. There were 82 seniors with 6 rounds and a top 16 cut. Round 1, I'm against Sasha with Darkrai, Terrakion, Sableye with Hammers, and a Roserade. So, Roserade, that seems kind of odd. I start Raikou, and he starts Ho-Oh. What? I didn't know Sasha, so I just thought it was a Ho-Oh deck. I get a decent setup, 2 electrics for the majority of the game. He gets plenty of energy as well as a Terrakion. I'm 10 short of KOing anything on his field with Rayquaza EX, including his Ho-Oh I had used Thunderfang on earlier. I don't want to go for it because I'm fearing a Max Potion drop. Once he gets his Terrakion ready to Land Crush, he catches and KOs my Raikou I had to start with. Then gets the Darkrai ready once I KO his Terrakion. I KO the Terrakion with my Mewtwo and get my prizes down to 3, him needing 3 as well. He Night Spears my Mewtwo and my bench Dynamo. I didn't realize he only needed those 3 prizes, so I set up a Rayquaza EX Dragon Purse for 180 next turn, and I think I catch or KO something with Mewtwo to get me the win next turn, so he just Night Spears me for the win. That one I feel kind of stupid for, but I couldn't attack with much else during that turn. A catcher would have also won him the game. If I had drawn into an electric or not started with that freaking Raikou, I definitely would have won. I also might have been able to win regardless, but I highly doubt it. Next round I'm up against someone I don't remember with Rayquaza Electric. I start Rayquaza EX to his 2 Dynamos. He goes first, making first turn kills with my Rayquaza, kinda tough. He gets an amazing setup, a few lightnings in the discard, 3 Dynamos, a Sky Arrow, which is good for me too, I guess, and a Thundurus in the active with no energy, and Rayquaza EX on the bench with a lightning energy, I think. I get a decent setup with a few Dynamos, but no other attackers, so I leave Rayquaza EX active. I can probably get a KO on his Rayquaza EX next turn if he doesn't KO mine. He gets the electrics and the energy he needs to KO my Rayquaza EX, as well as another Rayquaza EX on the bench. I still can't draw any attackers in Thunder Wave, Tails. From there, he just wrecks through my field. When I finally get a Raikou out in Thunderfang, Tails just destroys it. So things are looking terrible. I lost my first 2 matches, which means all my opponents to just win every single round, if I even have a chance at top cut. I'd have to win out just to get some prizes, not including championship points. And both my losses were just because I started with the worst possible Pokemon. One also included going second. That's my luck. Round 3 I'm against Jules something, I don't remember his name. Started with Jill, that's all I remember. With a type-based deck, I start Rayquaza. Great, I start with Rayquaza and the 1 auto-win game. What a waste. I win. Durr. Round 4 is against another person I don't remember with Darkrai, Terrakion, Sableye with Hammers, and also including Roserade, so Roserade seems kind of popular today. At the start, he mulligans, but I'm so over-observant that I check for 7 cards, and I only see 6. And what's behind that? The Evolution Spray? Roselia. I'm too naive of a person to think of it as cheating, and as more of just a mistake. The more and more I think about it, the more I'm sure he did that on purpose. Why would someone see 6 cards, no basics, and think it's a mulligan? Top that off, his start is terrible. He goes first, I start Rayquaza. Why the heck do I keep wasting these Rayquaza starts? He tries to play Devolution Spray and Super Rub with no effect to play his hand down for Bianca, and I know that's wrong, and rightfully call him on it. He did top deck a Sableye, so he double whips me. There's not much else to say, he gets nothing, and I wreck him. Serves him right, you freaking cheater. 5th round, I'm against Arjun, I think that's how you say his name, with Darkrai Terrakion, Roserade, Mewtwo, Buffalon. More Roserade. He's a friend from Poke Beach. That means one of us is out of getting prizes after this round. I go first, starting with Mewtwo, my worst overall starter. His Buffalon. I get a nice field setup, and he sets up nothing. Not even a DCE. He even had supporters every turn, and I end him a few times as well. By turn 3, I have a few electrics out, Rayquaza EX active, and Mewtwo on the bench to his one Buffalon. I have a fire on the Rayquaza, but not enough lightnings to KO the Buffalon, or enough on Mewtwo for a KO. So I play a switch to Mewtwo and N, hoping for a second switch. 6th card is a switch. Sorry, Arjun. After seniors games are over, we play a game for fun, and he wins. And I beat him with Ho-Oh afterwards. He even got a double heads on double whip to KO my Terrakion, so that was kind of funny. Final round for seniors, round 6, if you're keeping track. And I'm against Colin, I might have gotten his name wrong, with Darkrai Hydreigon. Sorry to say I don't remember much of this game, or what horrible starter I started with this time. The only thing I remember is in the late game, I think the prizes are 4-2, my lead. He's got a Hydreigon, Darkrai, and a Mewtwo on the field. He can KO my Rayquaza EX with either Darkrai or Mewtwo. He goes with a Mewtwo for some odd reason, even though I'm pretty sure he saw my Mewtwo off a random receiver earlier. And Darkrai could spread damage to give him a chance at winning. But I have the Ultra Ball in hand to get the game-winning Mewtwo. But I top deck Mewtwo anyway. So I end the day with 4-2. Even though I went from 0-2 to 4-2, I think my deck performed as well as it could have. I only lost the first game due to my 1-in-10 starter of the worst possible starter. The second game probably would have still been lost, even if I had gotten a good starter or gone first due to his godly setup. And what place did I get? 27th. Not bad. The 7 packs have nothing remarkable in them, but worth having. So overall, I had a fantastic day, even though I had to wait for my mom to finish her 9 rounds. She went 5-4, by the way. I made tons of great trades, and so many nice people from Poke Beach. Saw some of my other good friends, including one in juniors who got 31st with 3-3. All my other friends went 3-3, sadly. One of them might have been 2-4 from what I could remember. It was also freezing cold out in the Philly weather. It was freaking chattering out there. It was just ridiculous. So what exactly won regionals anyway? Well, here are the winning decks from all 5 North American regionals. That includes the Canada one. So it looks like I was right again. Woo woo, 2 in a row. Rayquaza Electric has taken more than half of them, but 2 of them including a very strange tech, Victini. No, not the Be Great one, Victory Star one. This is used to help reach flip for Thunder Waves and Thunder Fangs. Now, why is this so important? Well, one of Rayquaza Electric's biggest flaws is that it's rather slow. Eating 3 Electrics and a Rayquaza EX with a Fire at the same time takes a long time. And Thunder Wave and Thunder Fang are amazing attacks to help stall the powerful Victini, especially against Darkrai decks, which don't usually run Switch. And from the looks of top 4 results, which I'll get to in a second, Darkrai was pretty huge. We also have a Mewtwo Electric deck and a Hammer Time deck. Still not quite sure why those are doing so good, considering that all Darkrai decks run Sableye anyways, so it's just Hammers giving them deck power. Top 4 results were quite the opposite, actually. This isn't including the winning decks, by the way. This time, Darkrai took 7 of the 15 spots. Most of them used a combination of Terrakion, Mewtwo, and Hammers. Some of them had Stunfisk, one had Ho-Oh in it, which is used as a form of getting energy on the field if you're running low on energy. The guy I played before with a Ho-Oh was probably doing the same thing, but he unfortunately had to start with it. And one with Roserade. We also have 3 Terrakion Mewtwo decks, 2 of which had Roserade. That's 3 in a row, baby! I told you guys Roserade was good. Some also included Stunfisk, Buffalon, and one with Sigilyph. Seems like an odd one. Both Darkrai Hydreigon and Mewtwo Electric got 2 spots each, and Rayquaza Electric only got 1 other spot. So Battle World results stick true, having Rayquaza Electric appear less, but also winning a whole lot too.
And that's going to do it for today's episode. Regional is a very fun event. I definitely had a lot of fun here today. Today I had fun at the event, and I'm super stoked for cities when the December rolls around. And I'm also super excited for the release of Boundaries Cross, which is actually on the 7th. Yes, the 7th of November. And the pre-releases are, I think, let's see, so it's like Tuesday or something, the 4th. The pre-releases are on the weekend of like the 4th and 27th or something. I'm bad with math, at least on short notice. But yeah, it's something like that, and I'll definitely be attending a pre-release, if not multiple because I just want to. And I'm definitely super excited for those cards in that set. I'm not sure if next episode is going to be about Boundaries Crossed. It's probably going to be the next one after that. But I definitely have an idea for next episode, so you guys should stay tuned for that. So thanks for watching. Make sure to, if you rate what you thought about the video, like or dislike, I don't care. I just want to know what you guys think. I don't want to be some guys like my videos because that makes me feel better. No, do whatever you want. And also, that stuff. Yeah. Yeah, I guess I should also thank the Top Cut for getting the results of the regionals of the the winning decks, and I'd also, I guess this is kind of going on a rant, but not really a rant, but off topic. But I'd also like to thank them for getting coverage of the event, streaming live and having all this fun stuff about the event. And yeah, I didn't personally talk to any of the guys there at regionals, but whatever. I don't know what I'm talking about. So yeah, stay tuned for next episode where we talk about stuff. Stuff. I bet you're excited for that. I know I am. Later. I'm going to do things with my hands until you go away.